Welcome to Coffee and Conversation. This is the March episode. I am your host, Eric Twiggs, CEO of the What Now movement. And today we're going to be talking to you about the 4 stalling tactics that will delay your pay. The 4 stalling tactics that will delay your pay. And when I think about this topic, I think about a time in my life I was in corporate America. I'm working, and I felt this calling to become a professional speaker. After some deep reflection, I felt this calling to become a professional speaker. But then all of a sudden, these voices started coming into my head. Like, wow, what are you going to say that hasn't been said already? Are you really? Is this the right time? You know, the economy is bad. Who do you think you are? You think you're Les Brown or something? Who's going to pay you to come talk to their audience? And I had to admit, I listened to these voices, and for 3 years, I didn't take any action. I was procrastinating. Here's what happened. I had allowed perfect to become the enemy of progress. Right? I needed everything mapped out before I could get started. And I procrastinated for 3 years. And I have to admit, it did delay my pay. And I want to make sure this doesn't happen to you. That's why we're talking about this today. And fortunately, I'm not talking about this all by myself. I also have Dr. Sharon H. Porter. She is the VP of Media and Communications. Welcome, Dr. Sharon. We also have Maisha B. Hoy. She is our Chief Marketing Mama.
Yes, because my son made us biscuits this morning. So he's treated his mama right. So I changed it to Marketing Mama.
All right, the Chief Marketing Mama. Every episode, Maisha has a different name. This is like the only podcast talk show in the world where our Chief Marketing Officer has a different name on every episode. I mean, where else are you going to find that? I mean, that's why you have to tune in to Coffee and Conversation. Our other partner in crime, Ted Fells, isn't with us today. He's in a meeting. We definitely wish him well. He's our VP of Strategy, and he's also known as the Super CEO. All right. So again, for those of you who are just listening to us or watching us for the first time, you may be wondering, what is this thing, the What Now movement? How did you guys get started? Well, it was because myself, Ted Fells, and Dr. Sharon H. Porter, we wanted to work together. We saw that we were doing some impactful things in our own arenas, and we said, we should really just join forces and really have a big impact. So the idea was that we would get these hotel conference rooms and have speakers and inspire people from that standpoint. But then this thing called the global pandemic happened. So we had to ask ourselves, okay, what now? Right? Because all of the meeting rooms, everything was shut down. And we said we still want to work together. But then as we started talking, we noticed that there are people in our networks that would say things like, man, I'm going to start this venture. I'm going to write this book. I'm going to do this. But I'm going to wait until things get back to normal. And we said that that's the last thing you really want to do. You want to ask yourself, what now? So the mission of the What Now movement is to pivot. Whenever you face a struggle or a challenge or a difficulty or uncertainty, it's pivot. Don't just stop. What can you do now? That's the spirit of the What Now movement. And here we are. We do master classes. Matter of fact, we've got a master class coming up on April 15th that we're happy to tell you more about. We'll tell you about that a little later. You got to stay tuned. It's a special master class we're doing on April 15th. It has nothing to do with taxes. It's just a master class we're doing on April 15th. We do master classes. We do summits. We put inspirational content in the What Now Movement Facebook group. We have a What Now movement. We've done What Now University. We have a What Now YouTube page. So our whole mission is to inspire you to pivot and to keep moving. Maisha?
You forgot the What Now mindset book.
Oh,
And I can
I forget
see, I
that,
can see,
Maisha.
I know, but I can see my picture. Don't forget our women's series that Dr. Sharon put out. We do a lot.
Yeah, we do a lot. This is usually the time where Dr. Sharon has that, just happens to have the book right there with her. But no, everybody, you need to check that book out. The What Now Mindset. It's stories of people who've overcome just outrageous challenges, and they didn't just stop; they pivoted. So it's all in the spirit of what we're talking about. Okay, so now again, we're talking about the 4 stalling tactics that will delay your pay, and it has everything to do with this idea of perfectionism. And if you are a type A personality, like I happen to be, this is something you have to watch out for, right? Because you want things to be perfect, right? But that can also become a stalling tactic if you're not careful. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first stalling tactic is waiting for the perfect time to get started. That's the first comment, and I see this with entrepreneurs all the time. Like, for example, when it comes to hiring their replacement, because they really want to work more on the business than in the business. There's really never a perfect time, right? And the challenge is that it takes time to find a great person. So if you wait, so people, I want to wait until I'm not going to look until I get to this certain level of sales. When the heavens open and the clouds part and the light comes down, then I'm going to go ahead and move forward. But there's never a perfect time. And so the successful entrepreneurs, for example, that I've been around that are really killing it at a high level, they just start. They start even when they don't feel like they're ready. And what usually happens is by the time they're ready, that's when they identify that person. But they've been looking the entire time. So that's just an example from my perspective of, you don't wait for the perfect time. There's really never a perfect time to do something that's game changing and worthwhile. So Dr. Sharon, I'll throw it to you. What are your thoughts and experiences around waiting for the perfect time to start?
Absolutely. I sort of take it a different way, and I say there's always a perfect time, and it's now. I actually named my book publishing company after that sentiment, Perfect Time,
Hmm.
SHP Publishing, that the perfect time is now. So I would say there's always a perfect time, and the time is now. And so it's really the same thing that you're saying, just a different way of saying it. To just take it on that instance for anybody who's waiting to do anything, just do it. Basically, is what you said. And so the time is now, because truly, what you're waiting on may never come. So I just look at it from then, and truly that's why I named my company Perfect Time, because people were stalling writing and publishing books. Just do it. I had my podcast, write the book now, and that was all tied in to do it now. Don't wait. Don't wait until next year. Don't wait until my birthday. Don't wait until whatever. Just start and do it now. So that's my take on it. The perfect time is now.
So wait a minute, Dr. Sharon. Do you mean to tell me that you run into people who stall when it comes to writing their book?
Absolutely. One of my clients have been my client and have not published a book yet for 5 years. So I don't, and I'm sorry if you're out there listening. But one thing I don't, and I used to have a coaching arm, book coaching arm uh, to my company, and I stopped that about 2 years ago. But now I work with a partner who does that. So I don't push you. When you're ready, you come to me and we get started. Right. Once you get started, we can help you along the way. But you have to get started. I can't start for you. That's the point I try to make. But once you get started and you come, we can work it out together. So yes, my one client, she's the only client that I have. I mean, have paid. I'm talking everything. And we talk about it every week. So she is truly one of those procrastinators that we need to get a hold to. And so yeah, paid in full and everything, but has not done one thing with it yet. So we're gonna, that's gonna be my litmus test. We need to make sure we get that when she comes, when she finally publishes. We're gonna really celebrate, and I'm gonna let her listen to this episode without a doubt.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So I know I said that to Dr. Sharon because I come in contact with people who are procrastinating when it comes to writing their book or starting that process. So if you're out there, this isn't the time to beat yourself up. This is the time to become inspired by what we're saying and just take that next step and get started. And by the way, we're in the chapter 4 of my book, The Discipline of Now, 12 Practical Principles to Overcome Procrastination. And this chapter is dedicated to this idea of perfection and perfectionism. So definitely make sure you pick up your copy. We'll talk more about the book here in a little bit. But Maisha, what's your experience around this idea of waiting for the perfect time?
First of all, my phrase or motto for years came off that Nike, just do it. Because I think we talked about it in our last coffee conversation, which I do encourage people to go back to because I think they can identify some of those fear factors. But perfection has never been a goal for me. I believe that it's, once you reach perfection, you're just going to try to do something else. So it's unattainable from my perspective. So my thing is just do it. Just learn more. Just do what you can today. And I was talking offline with Eric. I started this new position as the National Director for Membership for the NAACP. And all I talk about every time you hear me speak is you got to start where you are, right? The starting point is what's going to take you to the next level. So starting where you are, use what you can and use what you know and do what you can is the philosophy, because currently this job is huge. I'm working with people all across the United States at different levels, and I don't want to scare them into not trying. Right? I don't want to scare them into not doing a membership drive. So perfection to me. I will use Dr. Sharon's, the perfect time is now. So that's my philosophy too. I ascribe to that. Just don't wait.
The perfect time is now. The starting point is what'll take you to the next level. Now, I mean, these are all outstanding points. And even if I go back to the story I told you in the beginning where I procrastinated for like 3 years before getting started. So finally, I joined Toastmasters International, the speaking organization where they teach you how to speak properly. They evaluate your presentations. And once I joined Toastmasters International, a funny thing happened. When I joined, it just so happened that there was a member in my club who trained professional speakers. He had a special course. And then so I took the course, and that just was tremendously helpful. And then from there, people kept telling me, man, you need to join the National Speakers Association, Eric. This Toastmasters thing is good, but the NSA, that's for the pros. That's how you learn to become a professional speaker. I kept hearing that. I joined that. When I got there, I met my speaking hero, Dr. Willie Jolly, who ended up writing the foreword to the book, The Discipline of Now. He wrote the foreword to the book. But I'm telling you all that because what happened for me, and this happens all the time, is that you don't have all the information, but once you take that step, that's when the next steps start to reveal themselves. So I would have never met Dr. Willie Jolly. I would have never had all these other experiences if I just had kept procrastinating. So that's the key thing. And hopefully that's one of the takeaways that you get from listening or watching this episode of Coffee and Conversation. All right. So we've talked about waiting for the perfect time to start. Next is one of my favorites is waiting until you have perfect information. right? Waiting until you have just everything all mapped out. And I talk to people who want to launch a podcast, and it's like, well, I'm still doing research, and I want to make sure I've got the right microphone, and I want to make sure I've got the right camera, and I have to really write out my first 50 episodes beforehand before I can get started, and waiting to have the perfect information. That's another common stalling tactic that we need to overcome that can cost you money. So, Maisha, I'll throw that to you. What are your thoughts and experiences around that?
So I'm gonna have to liken back to the new job, and that's the one thing we're working through. Like our data isn't where we all would like it to be, and I'm in charge of the data at some point. And people keep saying, "I want this, I want that." I'm like, "Here's what I can give you. Here's what we can base this your next decision on," because while information is crucial to, especially in this day and age, and we talk about data and metrics all the time, if we wait for that perfect moment when whatever that nirvana is, when the data is everywhere we want to be and we can pull this thing, we won't move. So to me, it's about moving forward with the information you do have. As you just said, once you start, your next steps become pretty clear to you. So don't wait for perfect information, especially in this day and age, and especially from marketing technology changes so fast. By the time you really learn this, something new has come on to the horizon. We were talking about Trello. I had never heard of Trello until talking with y'all, and then all of a sudden, Dr. Sharon was like, Trello. I was back in Dropbox days. So there's never going to be perfect information. So take what you have at this current moment, learn it, and learn that you're going to learn something else. Just don't let perfect information is never. We move too fast these days for you to have perfect information.
Now, very well said. Don't sit there and wait for perfect information. And if you're one of the personality types where you're very analytical, like we call them owls, where you need a lot of information. You just have this quest for information, and you can get into this thing where it's paralysis by analysis and all this. So if you're that type of personality, you're going to really struggle and be challenged with this whole thing of having perfect information. So really, I would lean in if that's you, if you can really relate to kind of being that owl personality type. That's something, and maybe it involves needing a coach. I mean, using a coach, life coach, business coach, someone that can spot out that pattern and say, "Hey, you're doing it again. Let's just hit the start button. Let's go." So something to watch out for. Dr. Sharon, what are your thoughts?
So I think about one of the 7 habits of Covey that I consistently live by is begin with the end in mind. One of the things, and I have to go back about 3 years ago, Walden University booked me to do a podcast presentation, basically. And so at the end of the presentation, I offered those who were on there a 30-day challenge. And basically, at the end of those 30 days, they would have their podcast ready and launched. And so, oh my God, people joined in. The first thing, the very first day that we would do it in the evenings, the very first act that they had to do was put out the release date of their podcast. That terrified them the most. So we look after the 30 days, that 31st day, that was going to be the release. So everybody had to put out, "Hey guys, I'm excited. My new podcast will be released on so and so date." And these are people who had no knowledge, had no idea, no information. It scared them to death. But we began with the end in mind. The beginning was we wanted the end to be that you had a podcast. And oh my goodness, every day for 30 days, I had them do a different activity. It was amazing. On that 31st day, you would not believe some of the amazing podcasts that were birthed through that 30-day challenge. They were so excited. This is from starting with people who had no information, not only the right information, but no information. And so they believed in themselves enough to go through the task. And in 30 days, and some of them are doing more than I'm doing now with podcasts. It's amazing. And I love it. And so it just goes to show you that you don't need the right information. You do not. You just start basically what you all said before. You learn bit by bit. And at the end, you will be amazed of what you come out with. And that was just a true testament to what you're saying for this barrier. And so just start, learn, and then be amazed at what the outcome is.
No, thank you for sharing that. Setting a date, that is powerful. That's a good way to get you out of that having perfect information. Setting a date for when you're going to start. So now once it's on the calendar, that's when it gets real.
And you made it public.
Right. Public. And again, and I think it goes back to what I said about being that having that analytical personality type. It's helpful if you make it public, if you have a coach, or even if you find an accountability partner, right? Somebody who is going to be checking in with you and say, hey, did you launch your podcast? Hey, can you send me the link to your first episode? And you won't be able to send it if you haven't started. So no, I think these are great points. And definitely it's like I've had people who've had success with, let's say they're waiting for all the information to hire someone or find their replacement. I've had them set the date, and sometimes they've even booked non-refundable trips where they have to be away from their business. Maybe it's 6 months in advance. So now that helps them to get out of that analytical mode and really chime in on tune in on what it is that they want to do or need to do. Good stuff. So the other thing is the military. They have this thing, it's the Navy SEAL thing, where you have to they train you as a leader to be able to act on imperfect information. Right? That's a military thing. And the studies show that, at best, you can move forward, even if you have like 70% of the information, you can move forward and still make decisions and take the next steps. So anybody that's a leader that has a military background, they know about this idea on taking action on imperfect information. They're not just sitting back waiting for all the stars to line up. So good stuff. So we're going to actually take our coffee break right now. You have to make the sound, right? Those of you who are watching on one of the video platforms, you may be asking, why is Eric's coffee blue? That's another conversation for another day. I know you noticed that. But we just took a coffee break. And this coffee and conversation coffee break is sponsored by the What Now Movement Podcast Masterclass. April 15th, 2023 at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. It's called How to Monetize Your Podcast and Explode Your Downloads. That's right. How to monetize your podcast and explode your download. That's right. Not just grow, but explode. And we're going to be letting you in behind the curtain, right? We're going to share some of the specific things that we've done to grow the 30-minute hour podcast, which is now past 700,000 total downloads. So we'll share a lot of those strategies and tactics on this free. You're getting free. This is free. You can't be free, right? So April 15th, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. You want to go to the whatnowmovement.com, click on the events tab, and reserve your seat. Also, Maisha, we were talking about a special promotion we're doing for the April Coffee and Conversation.
Yes, we would like people to RSVP for our April Coffee and Conversations. As you know, we're talking about the discipline of now. Or is it this way? The discipline of now. Eric, hold up the book.
What they just happen to have right here. There you go.
And we are going through each chapter. So we want you to follow along with us. We're going to do chapter 5, and Eric can talk to you more about that. So if you RSVP for the April Coffee and Conversations, we'll send you a copy of Eric's book, The Discipline of Now, 12 Practical Principles to Overcome Procrastination. And you can follow along with us and be part of the conversation. And we will help you get you over your procrastination challenges.
For sure. For sure. It's all about getting started. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. So next. So first we talked about waiting for the perfect time to start. We talked about waiting on having the perfect information. And we talked about that whole military idea of taking action when you have imperfect information. Our theme is don't allow perfect to become the enemy of progress. So now we're ready to talk about waiting until you have the perfect qualifications. Right? You just don't feel like you're ready. You don't, and that's what I wrestled with. I'm like, man, who's going to listen to me? I don't have any speaking degrees or haven't graduated from any coaching programs. And that, instead of just getting started, I let that hinder me. So we'll throw that to Dr. Sharon. What are your experiences as it relates to just waiting until you have the perfect qualifications?
Absolutely. When I hear this, I always think about applying for a job. That's the one thing because everyone always, in talking and conversation, you never pass up. If that's a job that you want, regardless of what the qualification says, the experience, apply, right? What is the harm in applying, right? Because the thing is, you just never know. Favor is amazing, right? You just never know what may happen. And so that's always my go-to response when there is something out there. I do it myself. I don't care what it is. If it's something that I'm interested, I don't care if it's far out of my reach. I don't care. I put my name in the hat. And inside knowing, okay, whatever, it's a long shot. But I think you never give up an opportunity, because that's what you're doing. If you don't, you're giving up an opportunity for it to happen. It's definitely not going to happen if you don't apply for it, right? Somebody's just not going to call you and say, hey, I got this job, right? So apply, because it just might happen. So it's the same thing. I don't care what it is. Go for it. Go for it. You just never know. I was watching an episode of Tamron Hall. I record her show. I love interview shows, by the way. And she had, what's his name? The guy in Creed that just came out. John Major.
Jonathan Major, my new favorite actor.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Jonathan Major. Oh my God. One of the most heartfelt interviews that I've seen in a while. I mean, he cried several times during this interview just because of favor, just because he never imagined, right, that he would be in the space where he is right now. He went to North Carolina School of the Arts, which is in my hometown in Winston-Salem. His teacher came on, and he was homeless. He lived in his car. Oh, like you never would believe all that. Exactly. That's what I'm telling you. Oh my God, it was so amazing. And he said to himself while he was sleeping in his car that he said, it's okay, bro. This is him talking to himself. Okay, bro, it's going to get better. We're going to make it, right? And so that's what he said to himself. And he said he worked as a barista that was in a Barnes and Noble. It was I don't know if it was actually Starbucks, but it was a coffee shop in a Barnes and Noble. He borrowed a book. He was homeless now. So, he was working, but he was homeless. He borrowed a book from Barnes and Nobles, and it was a guide to acting. And he said he followed that guide. He followed that guide throughout. Listen to me. He followed the guide throughout. No acting experience. He went to the School of the Arts finally. And Lynn, he said he saw Michael B. Jordan one day somewhere and they just spoke. That's it. What's up, man? What's up? That's it. 7 years later, come to today, he called, FaceTimes him and say, hey, I got a movie script for you. It's Creed, right? He said, I just wouldn't imagine. I just went, and I was like, oh my God, balling, because that just goes to show you, if you just put forth the effort, regardless if you think you're qualified, regardless if you have the experience, if that's what you want, you put it out there. And I know, Maisha, you talk about a lot, the atmosphere, putting it out there. There's some level to that, right? We know that manifesting just doesn't happen out of osmosis. I do believe that. You have to put the work in. I do believe that. And so I think with that, in him really motivating himself, whether he thought he was enough, whether he thought he was qualified enough, it happened for him. And so it just filled me up. And so this qualified, that's what it made me think of. You just got to do the work and don't miss an opportunity to be among the yeses. Don't miss an opportunity. Because if you don't do it, then it's definitely not a yes. It's a no because you didn't do it, right? And so I'm filled with that because that interview just really touched me. And it just shows that you just put your best work out there and good will come back. So that's it.
I got goosebumps.
I'm telling you, gotta watch it. Oh my God. It was
Dr.
just
Sharon's preaching this morning.
It was just because I'm telling you, it was amazing. And it gave me inspiration.
Yeah. Don't miss an opportunity to be among the yeses.
I'll post a video on our page because
just put it out there.
But I think you have to be open. I think it starts with a mindset, right? Yes. It's easy to think about, okay, I don't have the qualifications, I don't have enough degrees, I don't have enough experience. But you just have to be open to what they call serendipity.
Yes.
Right? Where just things can just happen. It's not always a linear progression.
That's right.
Sometimes it can be exponential. Right? You can be at this level and all of a sudden, I talk to people who want to be on the podcast all the time, and they tell me stories about how they got this phone call that completely changed the trajectory of their business and their life. They got a phone, like one of the guys is going to be on the show. He got this phone call from Google, just out of the blue, wanting him to. He was just like, he wouldn't have even thought he was qualified to speak to Google. They wanted him to speak. Rest is history. He's spoken all over the world, making all this money. So you just never. I think that's really the key.
You never know.
It starts with you really have to be open and not think about linear progression. You have to think that anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
We've seen it. Yeah, that thing. I didn't know all of that. I'll have to.
I know. Oh my God.
Yeah, we can put that on the.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
No, that's good stuff. So Maisha, what are your thoughts?
So it's changed since Dr. Sharon's talking, but but I do believe that perfect qualifications that you can't wait. So for me, my story is when I first started customer first marketing, I was hesitant to go after business that required 100-page proposals because you know how the government can. You're like reading half of the time that you're doing a proposal. And finally I said, Maisha, you're missing out on business because you look at these proposals and you see what you don't have in place of looking at the proposals and seeing what you do have. And enough people to bring in for those parts. So if I had waited for me to get all the qualifications, that these proposals wanted, I would not have been in business as long as I was in business. So I completely understand the hesitation in trying to be perfect and to meet the qualifications. But going back to what we talked about before, I hesitated and then I didn't. And then I started doing proposals and then I started bringing in partners and I started winning proposals because I started to believe in myself, believe in the ability for me to win. and believe in my partners that we could deliver to the state and local. But I definitely had that moment that you had, Eric, like, oh my gosh, I do not have XYZ. How can I do XYZ? But by getting over that perfection qualification piece of it helped me go after business. And I would not have won, going to Dr. Sharon's point, if I didn't put myself out there to win. And now I can write a proposal, no problem. I still don't like it, but I can do it and win. I had a very, very good proposal closing rate when I looked at how much time I spent. And I was like, okay, you're good at this, which I never thought I was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to. You can't disqualify yourself, and so that another thing that I've noticed with some of the super successful people is that they all speak about mentors, right? Having mentors, and one of the advantages of having a mentor is you'll get people who see things in you that you don't see in yourself. So having the right mentors can help with this thing when you don't feel like you're qualified. They may see some qualifications that you're not seeing because you're just too close to it. So definitely, finding people who have in your space who have done it. That's why it's good to go to conferences and things like that related to your particular specialty. Dr. Sharon, you look like you're leaning forward.
No, it just thought it's a spiritual quote, but it fits. As you all heard, it just came to me. You were saying that they always say, he doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And so I think if you look at it like that, you know what I'm saying? That if you're led or chosen to do something, the qualifications will come, the experience will come. So don't worry about that up front. It just popped out at me.
Yeah, he doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. Yeah, there you go. Man, whew. Yeah, this I'm getting inspired. That's
I know. I actually want to get off the podcast and go find the video.
I got to go start a venture here. I'm just getting fired up here. Whew. So one of the other things, and especially for like speakers and authors, this is something that's helped me. I've had mentors say this to me. And when you think about, okay, what qualifies me, think about your story. You are the only person on planet Earth who has your story. And so that's what makes you unique when you start really leaning into your story. And I think when you first start out, I know for me, when I first started out speaking, I'm telling stories about like Abraham Lincoln and, the stories everybody's heard a million times in different places. And, or the President Kennedy and all this and that, those are great. But when you start to lean into your story, even the stories that you feel disqualify you, bad things that have happened, failures, mistakes, that gives you a qualification because it's unique. And people will start to, your message will start to resonate, whether you're an author, you're a speaker. So I think that's something else that's key to remember when we talk about waiting until you have the perfect qualifications. All right. So here's the next one. It's waiting until you are guaranteed for success, right? You want that 100% guarantee that whatever you're starting is going to work out, is going to succeed. And I just don't believe, and I'll let you go next, Maisha, and maybe you'll disagree, but I just don't think that if it's anything that's worthwhile, that's game changing, I don't think there's ever going to be a 100% guarantee of success. I just think that legacy and risk, they go hand in hand, right? If you're looking to really leave a legacy, there's some level of risk that you're taking, and you're going on this venture where it requires faith. But why would you need faith if it was a guarantee of success? So Maisha, I'll throw it to you. What are your thoughts?
I agree with you 100%. So sorry for the no drama there. And I don't even think that, I think success changes, right? So when we started this a year ago, I wasn't even focused on downloads, right? And then we got our first download. Now we're at 30. Now we have 100 views. And so success has to change. So if you go in, and if you go into anything trying to guarantee, you're going to be disappointed. And for those of us that are starting new ventures, don't set yourself up for disappointment at the beginning, right? So last year we talked about goals and setting achievable goals and realistic goals. I think that's what we're talking about when I think of guaranteed success. You working towards something that you can actually see the difference at the end of the day is more important than trying to become a millionaire, right? Because you'll get there if that's what your goal is, but guaranteed success is not going to happen. This is the road we're on as entrepreneurs. It's not smooth. Sometimes a turn comes up and we're like, it's not. So that whole, if you are stopping an adventure or venture because you want to be guaranteed success, throw that out the window. Go back to the first beginnings of this talk and just start, because success is not guaranteed. It's not promised, but we believe that you can get where you want to go because you are starting and you're going to make a plan and you're going to make goals. And you're going to listen to all of the other podcasts that we've talked about this. It's for you to go after.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. There's no guarantee of success. I also think it helps to really be guided by a compelling vision, right? Like what's your why? I think you have to keep asking yourself, like if you're starting a venture, why do you want to do it? Oh, I want to make $1 million. Why do you want to make $1 million? So I can provide for my family. Why do you want to provide for your family? Because then when you get to the point where you strike an emotional nerve, and that's really why you want to do it. And I think if you can focus on the real why behind what you want to do, that gives you that compelling vision, and then you're more open to take a risk. Go ahead, Maisha.
I was going to say, Dr. Sharon and I had a great guest on the last Women Who Lead in Business, and she was great in the sense that she changed how I think about marketing to some extent. So that's a game changer for me. But telling the story and the why is something that I'm imparting to my membership chairs for the NAACP. Because how can you ask someone to believe in you if you don't believe in what you're talking about? And even what you're talking about is your story.
Oh, hold on, Maisha. That you and Dr. Sharon, man, y'all are just killing me here with this great information. So please say that again for the people in the back.
I won't be able to repeat it verbatim, but believing in yourself and telling your story is how you're going to get others to believe in what you're putting out there. So I'm trying to get the membership chairs that I work with every day now to really tell that story of why they are a member of the NAACP, because that is what's going to compel other people to become members. So I believe in that why, the why that you were talking about, the vision. That's what we're trying to impart on people. And that's changing how I'm viewing marketing. Places just, what's your brand? No, tell your story and get people to believe in what you're trying to put out there.
And that's what she said. Melissa was her name. And that's what she said, because she doesn't even call it marketing. She called it storytelling. And so it was impactful. And that's a good way to transfer that to the chairs to tell their stories, Maisha. I love that.
Yeah, that's great. So again, I think if you're really locked into your why, you're going to be more open to taking the risk that's necessary, or the risks that are necessary to make it happen, because you really are like, you talk about the NAACP. I'm just reminded of Dr. King and all the risks that he took. He risked his safety, his livelihood, everything. And people would have these interventions with Dr. King and say, look, you have to leave the South. And he just wouldn't do it because of the vision he had, the dream and everything. That's what kept him open to taking these risks. And I think that's key. And there's a great book by Simon Sinek called Start With Why. And that will definitely help you to really get a clear understanding. And it's like one of the top TED Talks of all time too. But that'll get you a good understanding of tuning into the vision, and it'll make you more open to taking risks, but it's just so critical that we understand that there isn't like a risk-free thing. And obviously, if you're starting a business, we all know that that's like we say, but you still have to be tuned into the vision. So Dr. Sharon, what are your thoughts on this topic?
So, it makes me think of what I grew up knowing or hearing is that there are only two guarantees, taxes and death, right? So it's just really no guarantee for success. You both have said it. And I just don't, I don't know, I would love to hear if someone thinks there is a guarantee. Because I don't think, there's different levels to success. I wrote an article in Forbes based off of the American Academy Achievement. And they named 6 key elements to success. It was passion, it was vision, preparation, perseverance, integrity, and courage. And so when you put all of these elements together, there is a high expectation that you will be successful. Even then, it's no guarantee, right? You can have all the passion in the world. You can have that great vision. You can prep, you can, prepare, do the work, basically. The courage and integrity. There may be some level of success, but it's still no guarantee that you're going to reach the top, right? I believe in collaboration. I believe that you can succeed alone, but as, what's his name, Jonathan Majors said, you can't reach greatness alone. And I believe that. So there, you can have success, but don't you want greatness? Don't you want excellence? And you have to do that with collaboration. I'm telling you, y'all got to look at that interview.
I'm telling you.
It was just, but really, so so success is relative. We all know that, depending on what your expectations are. So, it just depends. But 100% guarantee, I don't think so. But more than success, you should be reaching for excellence and greatness.
You can't reach greatness alone. Go ahead, Maisha.
Eric, are we knocking your book as we talk?
What do you mean?
Because this is from his book, right?
Yes, great stuff.
I'm just teasing. I'm really teasing. We don't have Ted here to do the jokes, so I gotta stay.
So you trying to do them?
Hey, yeah, there you go.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah, but I mean, to me, I didn't write them down, but I think if you can check off that list of those 6 things that you said, courage, perseverance, and the other 4, you should consider yourself a success. Because if you are an entrepreneur, just to be doing what you're doing every day, if you are an author, to get up on stage and speak to others and have them come back to you with your message resonated. I think we need to take these everyday successes as seriously as we take the bigger successes, because that's what's going to compel us and motivate us to achieve more, to achieve greatness and excellence. So,
and I don't think we're saying that you're not going to achieve success, but you're saying waiting until you know that you can. That was the caveat.
Right. Yes. Right.
That you don't have to wait until all of these things are in place.
Right.
To go and do it because you know it's going to work out. I think that's more of it than anything. We know that we can reach success, but don't wait until you know that you're going to reach success to do it.
Yeah, because once you know, you're just going to find something. I mean, we're all goal-oriented, high-performing, look to the future people. So once we get to this level, there's a new level of success that we're going to go after. I mean, I just think it's part of our DNA at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Can you, Dr. Sharon, can you repeat the 6 elements of success?
Yep. There's passion, there's preparation, vision, courage, perseverance, and integrity.
Courage, perseverance, and integrity.
I cannot wait to start putting this as social media posts. Dr. Sharon with the gems.
So you can look. So if you're someone that's waiting for certainty and a guaranteed success, just focus on these 6 elements: the passion, preparation, vision, courage, perseverance, and integrity. That's key. And then you really have to think about how much control do you really have, right? That's the other piece here when you're looking for this guarantee of success. There are two things that you can completely control. That's your attitude and that's your effort. That's it. So if we've got a compelling vision, you're focused on everything that you can control. You're focused on these 6 elements of success. I think you'll be in a great position to take the necessary risks that you need to take to get what you want. Man, I tell you, this has been a very inspirational episode. So hopefully you've been taking notes and you're writing down your takeaways, and you remember that there's really never going to be a perfect time to start. You can't wait until you have perfect information. You can't wait until you have the perfect qualifications. Remember that success can be exponential. It's not necessarily linear, that once you get this, then you get that. That if you just open to serendipity, you just never know what can happen. You just have to be willing to move forward from where you are. And then you can't wait because you're not certain of success. There's never going to be a guarantee. You got to focus on that compelling vision and everything we've been talking about there. All right. So we're coming down the home stretch here. We're coming towards the end of this episode of Coffee and Conversation. So don't forget about our April 15th podcast masterclass, right? How to monetize your podcast and explode. Maisha, you got to do the explode thing. Explode your downloads, where we're going to really share behind the curtain on the tactics that we've used to grow the 30-minute hour podcast beyond 700,000 total downloads. So come prepared to take notes. Make sure you go to the whatnowmovement.com and click on the events tab so that you can reserve your seat. Again, that's April 15th, 10 a.m. Eastern time. And don't forget about that. We'll do the first Saturday of April is going to be the next Coffee and Conversation. And if you reserve, you RSVP for that Coffee and Conversation, you can get a free copy of this book, The Discipline of Now, 12 Practical Principles to Overcome Procrastination. So make sure you go and you RSVP. Maisha, anything else we need to be telling the people about?
As always, you can follow us on all social media. We are on Facebook, LinkedIn. We especially want to increase our downloads. So if you can find us on YouTube, our views, if you can find us on YouTube and take a listen and subscribe, we will love it. Absolutely.
Dr. Sharon, did you have any final thoughts before we sign off?
Nope. Just happy Women's History Month to all you amazing women out there. Thank you so much for being amazing.
Thank you for being amazing. This concludes another amazing episode of Coffee and Conversation. And remember, don't allow perfect to become the enemy of progress. We'll see you next time.